Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Entrepreneurship Lab. This is your host, Nevin Abashalatz, welcoming you to the new episode. And I'm very excited because today I have a very special guest. As you know, I always bring you some interesting people who have tremendous success as entrepreneurs or are expert in specific areas. And my guest today is Charles Cormier, and he's coming from Canada, although he's based in Mexico right now. And he's a serial entrepreneur, and he will share with us his story and specifically help us understand artificial intelligence and how you can scale your business using AI, because he apparently replaced thousands of his employees in his companies with artificial intelligence. Charles, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time to be with us.
My pleasure. And yeah, the thousands have not been replaced in one shot, but yeah, it went from 100 plus to zero nowadays. Actually, up until 10 days ago, I had my last employees, and now I'm solo dolo. Thank you for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. Yes, that sounds cruel. People will be like, he just fired thousands of people and replaced them. Everybody are terrified of artificial intelligence. So we're going to talk about that today. But I want you to share. You're very young, you're very successful. Tell us, what are you currently doing? What type of companies do you have? And also share with us maybe a little bit about your background, how you started being an entrepreneur, how you got all of these amazing ideas that brought you where you are today.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm going to try to do my best because here the connection is not too good. Plus, I'm sick today. I caught something because it was my wedding 10 days ago. And you know how wedding goes. You give it your all. Just like
well, first, congratulations. Yeah, on the wedding. And sorry, you're sick. You need the honeymoon now to rest.
Yeah, well, theoretically, I already had it. But yeah, we're going for a second one in a week from now. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out. But my story, been 10 years in the entrepreneurial game. I started with my first serious company, which was a nootropic supplement. So some pill that you take for the brain, for better memory, for better cognition, for better concentration, everything in between. So I was in uni back in these days. I was traveling in Hong Kong as an exchange student, and I thought, why not start agencies at the same time? That's where I discovered remote work 10 years ago, right? I could make money from my computer. Plus, I decided to register a business in Hong Kong at the same time, which was really advantageous here in Dubai. Well, Hong Kong is really advantageous also from a business and tax standpoint. So after these first couple of business, I put my nootropic company down to the ground because it wasn't profitable. Some days we were in the green, some days we were in the red, and decided to start a whole bunch of other companies, especially in the agency field. I always promote agencies, quote unquote, in offering a service because you're profitable from day one. And not only that, but you can test out your hypothesis so that if you want to start another startup in any field, you can gain experience in agencies and apply that in your actual startup and generate a whole bunch of cash in the process. So why not? So I started a website agency, an AdWords agency. I had a call center. A couple of years ago was LinkedIn outreach. That was all the party was there. They limited the 500 connections a day to 50. So that's when I was, okay, I need to make a switch here. I need to find something that can scale. Me, I'm a scale guy. I'm a product market fit guy. And I found cold email. My hypothesis was that I was going to get in the spam after a couple of days, but lo and behold, I could reach out tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of folks nowadays, get open rates of 75% plus, get reply rates of 15%, and get a bunch of leads. 100 to 120 meetings a week is what I get nowadays with that. So nowadays, I decided to put humans out of the equation because, in my opinion, they wouldn't give a better performance than Charles, and an AI listens more than an employee. An employee, they have all their values, right? They have all their mindset. An AI can just teach it exactly what to do, and it will understand better than most humans. Let's call it an 8 on 10. right? So I use a bunch of systems nowadays to run my clients' campaigns. I have multiple businesses still, which we could get into eventually. But it's just pure profit coming in. I am still learning, so I'm checking that box as well. I'm giving back through my podcast. Plus, I'm super happy, and I'm still starting or experimenting some new startups in the progress.
That's impressive, amazing. Thank you, Charles, for sharing with us. So I want, first of all, to start. A lot of people listening, maybe are in the startup phase, or even if they're not, people have a lot of resistance toward artificial intelligence. And I always say resistance comes with when we don't understand something and we don't have the knowledge. So how would you describe artificial intelligence? I mean, we already live with it for years, actually, but it's just changed this couple of years, changed the ways that can help us so drastically that I think it's becoming a bit overwhelming. So can you tell us a little bit more about the change that's happening in this industry?
Yeah, and some people are still scared of their shadows. Some people are still scared of COVID. You know, at some point, you need to ask yourself, like, is it like this thing that you're scared of, or is it a mindset that is not fully working? My hypothesis on that is that people are not that scared of AI as they were. You know, they understood that, oh, singularity may not happen and everyone shall die in a couple of seconds. People are trying out these tools and seeing out the benefits. So I don't think most people are still scared of it. I have one clear hypothesis though, and it is that in the next decade, there's going to be a mass exodus towards entrepreneurship. So I think what people are scared of is to not have a job and compete against a machine that has superpowers. And we're not yet there. I'm pretty much bullish on everything I'm into, especially the stuff I have a lot of data. I was estimating that we would have an AGI under 7 years. I'm still predicting that in some fields, right? It's not a generalized intelligence that is super powerful and will replace everything in one shot, but we will definitely have AIs. For example, right now, you can see GPT-4 is way better than most assistants, right? Just that it doesn't have action power. You don't give it your credentials. You don't give it the permission. There's legal behind that. Like imagine if OpenAI has access to your bank account and does something silly. So basically where I'm seeing all of that and these folks fearing AI, there's two categories. One that will adapt, right? And one that will eventually be maintained through tools like UBI, like universal basic income. And I don't think it's gonna be that quick, but I do think that, yeah, like there's gonna be these two categories: people that want to work and want to have a strong meaning in their life, vs people that do not want to work. And it's the same analogy because you know it as a coach of growth mindset vs fixed mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Charles. I would like to ask you now if you can share with us three maybe tricks or three ways that you use artificial intelligence to specifically help you with with your business, and how did you use it to change and transform your business?
Yeah, I have many tools. For example, the outreach, right? Like, which is probably 50% of my time spent nowadays. I have Apollo's AI personalized opener. There's a bunch of apps as well that can write basically new lines per cold emails and so forth. And that's one. The second one could be YouTube summaries. So it actually takes the full YouTube video and converts it into text, and then it segments it in YouTube chapters. That would be a tool called opus.pro. You can check him out there. And a tool I've been using before bed nowadays, just as a sparring partner or something that's different than a book. I have heypi.com that, for example, I can use as a psychotherapist to make sure that, like everything that's toxic into me comes out and is reasoned with and is somewhat spoken about. That would be one. And Perplexity, which is an OpenAI that is even higher quality. Not OpenAI, Perplexity.ai, that is a bit higher quality and connected than OpenAI. I would encourage the audience to try these one out.
Okay, that's great. I love that. What I want to start now, I would love to hear a little bit about your story. How did you actually specifically, why you said why you replaced so many employees with artificial intelligence because it's more correct, more precise. But I would love to know what exactly steps you did. Like, what was the first thing? Like, for example, something the simplest like ChatGPT can replace copywriting for many people, can write so many things, give a lot of materials. So what are some things that where did you start it and how did it progress that you completely replaced your employees and you're using just the
Right.
technology?
Yeah, me, I'm a first principles thinker, so that answer won't be like technical, but mostly societal and yeah, mathematical even, you know. The question is the relationship in the work contract. What is a work contract? Is you can do that for me, I can do that for you. I'm the employer, you're the employee. The only difference is that there's a massive, massive, massive rift between you and I. Me, I've the last 10 years of my life, I've obsessed on improving myself at least 1% on a daily basis. The
Yeah.
employee, they don't have that, most of them, you know. The proof is they're being lazy. They just want to be paid per hour. They want something safe. They don't want to take risks. Okay, and that is a humongous rift and a pattern that will repeat itself throughout the working contract. You know, when you ask them to do this for a client, how can you motivate an employee? Well, with cash, right? And but isn't their goal to make more cash and more profits? Yes. So it's never win-win. It's mostly I win, you lose, or in my case, in the last few years, they win and I lose. I've tried that model over 1,000 employee on my side and never got any success. I've tried paying pricey consultants. I tried the $10 an hour folks. I tried the SOPs, you know. I feel that I almost maxed out this experiment. I didn't give up on it still. I'm still partnering up with folks and co-founding business with other humans this year, but
Yeah.
these are growth mindset individuals, you know. They're not employees that are waiting for a paycheck every 2 weeks, you know. And now in this whole equation, high performers, they get frustrated when they don't work with high performers, which is the story of my life in the last 7 years. Like, why haven't you done that, you know? And I'm a nice guy. I'm a pretty win-win guy, but just like Elon or Bezos, I can be pretty brutal when some things are not working. Why? It's not that I want to hurt. It's just that I'm very realistic and I'm like, you didn't do that. And then they don't react well emotionally. They're like, he's attacking me. But no, I'm just stating the facts, you know? With an AI, you don't have that. And with an AI, it is Charles on autopilot, you know? So it's at least something that is 9 or 9.5 on 10 that keeps on repeating. It doesn't improve yet. And we're going to see this improvement. But that is like how this riff started. It started with an experiment, right? Of me, okay, I can still make something great with humans. But yeah, when you run an agency and these humans don't serve the clients that you're with best, and there's very few renewals, and you realize that worst of it all, not only are they not renewing the clients, but they're costing you something. The decision to replace them and automate these process, and yes, taking a bit more of my time, is to be done. And it's not like I'm wasting my time nowadays because, like I said, I experiment stuff on a daily basis. I'm getting better at my craft, which is cold emailing. And that's a why with AI. And my story in less than 30 seconds with it was trying GPT-3, then GPT 3.5, then GPT-4, asking it to write job descriptions, asking it to write the copy of my website. Nowadays, it's snapping picture with OpenAI and telling it to look at my face and see, hey, do I look tired? What do you see in that face? And stuff like that. There's so much place for innovation. Then you connect everything with everything with tools such as Zapier, and you do that at scale. You get a bunch of meetings and you do this, you reproduce that same products for your clients, and the result is you have a big bank account. Then you use that money to, you know, buy a lot of things. And then you can start to expand. And that's the whole point. It's not like I'm wasting my time nowadays because, like I said, I experiment stuff on a daily basis. I'm getting better at my craft, which is cold emailing. And that's a why with AI. And my story in less than 30 seconds with it was trying GPT-3, then GPT 3.5, then GPT-4, asking it to write job descriptions, asking it to write the copy of my website. Now, nowadays, it's snapping picture with OpenAI and telling it to look at my face and see, hey, do I look tired? What do you see in that face? do some stuff that is more exciting, right? Because cold email, in my opinion, is a bit boring. I'm into neuroscience, I'm into the brain, I'm into longevity and not dying. I'm into brain computer interfaces, I'm into AGI. So that's my passion. That's what lights me up precisely.
Yeah, that's incredible. You gave us so many tips and so many platforms for people to check out and do. What is the tip you would give or advice you would give to someone who wants to start switching to use the AI? What is the first step they should do?
Yeah, well, first stop hiring, okay? You're not doing yourself a service. You're not doing these employees services. You're just extending the inevitable, which is that AGI will pretty much replace 99% of humans. There's no other way around that. I don't think most humans will adapt to that. The AGI is an improvement machine. How do you want to outpace an improvement machine other than being obsessed as I am or as Elon is, or merging with these machines via Neuralink, So ask yourself that question. For example, I hustled 17-hour days prior to this wedding for 6 months, and I've chilled in the last two. First, I'm like, yeah, this could be better. There could be an AI to improve my vacations and suggest to me that this restaurant is the best and so forth. But second, I get bored, what makes me happiest is not chilling. It's crunching work. It's running an ultra marathon. It's doing these types of things, So first, ask yourself that question, and then in that full revolution, basically, you need to try to see it like try to plan a bit more in the future, I would say, because most people are super focused on the short term. People, they can start by asking themselves fundamental questions, fundamental psychological question of who they are, what are they value? Do they value chilling or do they value growing? Me, it's growth. It's the Tony Robbins description that you and I talked about on my pod last time. 1% on a daily basis. And then also try to make a few calculus and listen, not to experts, but folks that love talking about that. I'm also pretty solid on the fact that everyone will be entrepreneurs in some shape or form in the next 10 years. And once you understand that, then yeah, you'll be tempted to start businesses and A/B testings and see where this is going. Because if you don't ask these questions, you'll be like, there's strong waves here in Mexico. When you get caught up into them, you realize you're like just a puppet. You're not really strong and you're fighting against the current. It's the same analogy with AI, and you don't really want to get caught in the undertow there. You just need to ask yourself, do you want to chill or do you want to grow?
Thank you so much. That's a true entrepreneurial mindset and obsession with growing and learning and improving yourself. So I want to just wrap up and finish this episode, Charles, with asking you a little bit about your podcast. You are taking a very massive action, like Tony Robbins says. You're interviewing, I think, hundreds of interviews weekly. So can you tell us a purpose behind you're giving a lot of value, and just share with the listeners where they can also go and listen to your podcast and learn so much about entrepreneurship?
Yeah, well, that's been one of my best functioning experiments. The podcasting thing, it was 2 or 3 years ago. I was consuming lots of podcasts like Tim Ferriss show, Dave Asprey, biohacking pods, and everything in between. Lots of business podcasts. Was like, okay, why don't I try this? I love experimenting stuff and seeing how I feel, what's the fit with me and that thing, which is voice into a microphone and information and sharing that with the world. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. Then I discovered that it was the best learning mechanism ever. I just interviewed 10 to 15 CEOs a day. So imagine what does that do to a brain, and when I listen to quote unquote experts, well, my stats are not too shabby too. Obviously they're more qualitative, but yeah, I speak to a bunch of folks in that area, and I can tell you that most CEOs are are behind this AI thing, by the way.
Mhm.
So learning became like a top use case for podcasting. Then I was like, okay, if I want to scale it, I'll need to have a capitalist backend to that. So that's why I'll have sponsors. That's why I will start a podcast agency and so forth. That's why we'll have a mastermind backend to it. And yeah, that grew quite a lot. Just before I started my wedding, I closed a 6K sale, just before going on holiday, just like that, and that comes from the podcast directly. It's a funnel, quote unquote.
Yes.
So really love that aspect of it. And yeah, just giving out this information, growing my network, closing clients. It's a no-brainer. I've pushed it to a bit of an extreme nowadays, and I'm kind of laying low a little bit on that side, because I'm focusing also on the sales side. 50% of my meetings are direct sales, 50% for the podcast. And I think folks should have something similar to that. No one is doing cold email for their podcast. So that's something that I teach. Most of the information is already out there, by the way, just that most folks don't want to implement it. It's a classic dilemma of humans not wanting to do the work. That's why I offer it as a service. And for my podcast, it's called the CEO Wisdom podcast. So if folks are CEOs or founders, I also run the Founder Wisdom pod. They can go there, they can listen to these pods, and I would strongly encourage people to just start an experiment and start interviewing people themselves.
Thank you so much, Charles, for being my guest today. This was very valuable, very had a thinker, innovative thinker, and I think everyone will benefit listening to this episode. Thank you for being here, all the listeners. Please make sure to subscribe to the podcast if you're listening for the first time, download the episode and share it so at least one more person can benefit. And make sure to go on LinkedIn and all social media platforms and connect with Charles Cormier, our guest today. And on my behalf, I want to thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.